My brothers and sisters, what is going on? This is Steel Sermon in the house Tuesday morning with another video for you guys. And always do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Links are posted in the box down below. Real bad week for me in week 14. 7-6. Obviously not good. Couple games I wish I had back, but then there were games that were just complete upsets. So, real bad week for me. I mean, still 132-76 on the season's pretty good, but just a real bad week for me. Gotta do better. But without further ado, let's get on to the biggest winner and loser for week 14. And my biggest winner for week 14, I don't think this needs much of an explanation, but my biggest winner for week 14, Baker Mayfield. This guy has been suffering all season, had real bad production down in Carolina, and he gets cut by the Panthers. Rams pick him up on waivers, and he only has 2 days to learn the entire playbook for the Rams. And his first game with the Rams is on a Thursday nighter, on a short week no less. Real short week for him against the Raiders. And he only leads the Rams from a 16-3 deficit to beating Vegas 17-16. An amazing fourth quarter comeback for Baker Mayfield, going 98 yards as the Rams beat the Raiders. Vegas chokes another lead in the fourth quarter. And, I would put Vegas as my biggest loser, but like I said, at this point, I just expect Vegas to choke like this. But Baker Mayfield is my biggest winner for week 14. A great comeback for him. I still think the Rams aren't a very good team. I still think that they're just a real bad team this year, suffering from a lot of stuff. But that was a real impressive comeback right there by Baker Mayfield and the Rams. They're my biggest winner for week 14. Biggest loser for week 14, I think a lot of yins know where this is going. This was a no doubt about it. It is Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky, I know it's not completely his fault for why he had to be in there because Kenny Pickett got injured, but still, this is a 6-year veteran, and he spent 4 of them as a starter in Chicago, and now he's relegated to a backup, and Sunday showed why that he's a backup. 3 interceptions for Mitch Trubisky, 2 of them in the red zone, 1 of them just a ridiculously bad overthrow. And this guy cost us at least 14 points on the board, and he absolutely cost us the game against the Baltimore Ravens. Literally, if the Steelers don't turn the ball over, we could have won. But because this jagoff, just takes a million years to process a decision, has some of the worst quarterback mechanics that I've ever seen, that's why we lost. You can say what you want about the rush defense, you can say what you want about the O-line, you can say what you want about the coaching, whatever. The fact of the matter is, or the blocked field goal, the 17-yard punt, whatever you want to say. Fact of the matter is, Mitch is the main reason that we lost on Sunday. And that's why we're sitting at 5-8, and we're 1 loss away from Mike Tomlin having his first losing season as a head coach. Mitch Trubisky, you're my biggest loser for week 14, and you're just a loser in general. Plain and simple. So that'll do it for that. Those are my biggest winners and losers for week 14. As always, as we head down to pretty much the final quarter of the season, all divisions are final, and as always, your spread picks are the only picks that you need score predictions for now. So let's get on to it. These are my Week 15 picks of the 2022 NFL season. Kicking things off, as always, Thursday Night Football up in Seattle. We got the 49ers and the Seahawks as a very imperative game for both teams. San Francisco is 9-4, coming off dominating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 35-7. As Brock Purdy put Brock Purdy put up a pretty solid game for the 49ers. Defense did what they always do, picking off Brady twice and made his life a living hell on Sunday. And the 49ers have all of a sudden won 6 in a row. They are 9-4, and they are looking really good in the NFC. Like I keep saying with them, they're an underrated Super Bowl favorite, and it shows every single week. Meanwhile, the Seahawks losing in embarrassing fashion at home to the Carolina Panthers. They were down 17-0 to them before they could even get some momentum going. So the Seahawks, they have a lot. They have a lot to work with right now. They just are not playing good. You know, it kind of seems like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing for the Seahawks. I mean, they looked really sharp to start the season off. Looked like, yeah, this team can win the division. Geno Smith has lost his mojo, and now the Seahawks are starting to look like what we thought they'd be, just a rebuilding team. I mean, they won enough games for them to call it a good season for them, but as long as they can hold on to faith that Denver keeps losing, I think the Seahawks are going to have no worries when it comes to the draft. So these two met early in the season, and the 49ers beat them up 27-7. I can't really say I'm 100% confident about a sweep, but in this instance, I am. I'm going to go with the 49ers to get the job done and complete the sweep over the Seahawks. 49ers defense steps up again. Seahawks are just not playing good, and they're running into a red-hot 49er team, and I really don't see who can really slow down the 49ers at this point. I got the 49ers completing the sweep of the Seahawks. Give me San Francisco. Alrighty, next up, we got some Saturday slate of games, and on Saturday afternoon in Minneapolis, we got the Indianapolis Colts and the Minnesota Vikings, as the Colts are coming off their bye week, believe it or not, at 4-8-1, if I'm not mistaken. And the Minnesota Vikings are coming off getting destroyed in Detroit by the Lions. So the Colts, obviously not a good team either. They have just been non-existent as far as their entire offense goes, except for the first game Jeff Saturday was, and they're coming off that absolutely embarrassing loss on Sunday Night Football to the Dallas Cowboys, 54-19. So the Colts, I mean, they should just mail it in the rest of the season. They should shut down any other guys. There's just no point in trying to compete for the rest of the year. They're going to probably have a top 5 pick. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings, a bad loss up in Detroit. And the Vikings, I mean, yeah, they're 10-3, but honestly, I really don't think Minnesota should be the 2nd seed. I think they should be the 3rd seed. I just don't think they're that good. I just really don't think Minnesota is a strong Super Bowl candidate. I really don't think so. You know, they can't really show up when games are important. They can't really show up when the chips are down. And Kirk Cousins just doesn't strike me as a clutch quarterback. I mean, sure, I still stand by what I say about Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Those are great weapons at his disposal, but it's just the thing with Kirk Cousins. I don't buy him as a clutch quarterback. But, you know, they're going up against a weak team in Indianapolis. They got nothing to play for at this point. I'll go with the Vikings to rebound after that bad loss in Detroit and get the job done. I think Minnesota is going to be motivated enough to clinch the NFC North here. I'm going with the Vikings to get the job done over the Colts. Then late Saturday afternoon, pretty much at dusk, at sunset, we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns up in Cleveland. As battle of two teams that Steeler fans should never ever cheer for. Ravens and the Browns, these two met earlier in the season. Ravens beat them, where Ravens honestly left some points on the board, and they nearly let the Browns come back and beat them. But now Baltimore is banged up. Lamar Jackson obviously not going to play, and now there's a chance Tyler Huntley won't play because he got into concussion protocol in our matchup this past Sunday. So that leaves the door open for their third-string quarterback to come in and start for them again. I think if the Ravens are going to win this game, they got to get the ball rolling again because J.K. Dobbins ripped us a new one on Sunday. 120 yards on the ground for him. So I think that the Ravens just need to be run heavy in this one, but it's just leaving the door open for a predictable game plan, which I think the Browns are going to be ready for. Cleveland's defense is kind of like our defense a little bit. It's very hit and miss, very hot and cold. But I think that the one thing the Browns have an advantage over in this game is the quarterback, obviously. I mean, I know Deshaun Watson hasn't been playing all that great, but you got to know, as much as I love clowning him for, playing badly, I also know it's been a long time since he played, but I do think that he is good enough to play up to par and that Cleveland can have a solid game here. So, I mean, honestly, I think this game is pretty evenly matched and it's pretty evenly contested. I think Cleveland kind of wins as far as the weapons go. I think Baltimore has the advantage with the. I think Baltimore has the slight advantage with the ground game, even though the Browns do have Nick Chubb. It's just that the Ravens run the ball collectively when they're all in sync. But remember, the Ravens don't have Lamar Jackson. They might not have Tyler Huntley for this game. So I think that kind of eliminates that. While all the Browns pretty much got to do is run the ball with Nick Chubb, which is what I think they're going to do here. So I'm actually going to go with the Cleveland Browns to get the split over the Baltimore Ravens. If Tyler Huntley plays, I might honestly pick Baltimore. And then obviously if Lamar Jackson was healthy, I would pick Baltimore. But it's just the third string quarterback here. And the Browns are relatively healthy in this one. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns to get the split over the Ravens. Then Saturday night, we got a very important matchup in the AFC East. Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills up in Buffalo in a game that is supposed to be the Snow Bowl game this year to kind of make up for, what happened about a month ago in Buffalo. But yeah, the Dolphins and the Bills, as the Dolphins were playing red-hot football, for the first pretty much half of the season. Now they've kind of slowed things down and they've lost 2 in a row with Tua Tagovailoa starting. So my question for the Dolphins, have they peaked too early? It's starting to look like it. I still think the Miami Dolphins are a really good football team. I still think we're going to see them be in the playoffs in January. But I think you might want to pump the brakes on calling them a Super Bowl contender now. They're really starting to play some cold football. They're starting to cool off a little bit. So, and then that game against the Chargers on Sunday night, it pretty much showed it. I don't know. I just don't like how the Dolphins are all of a sudden just cooling off right now. And now they're playing the Buffalo Bills, who have beaten them, 7 out of the last 8 times. And Josh Allen always has really good games against Miami. This is going to be a really bad loss for the Dolphins if they can't hold on to beat Buffalo. Because I know the Dolphins beat the Bills earlier, but the Bills were a little banged up in that game. And now the Bills, again, are relatively healthy. So, yeah, Buffalo is favored by 8.5, 9.5, whatever it is, on the lines on the top. I think Buffalo covers in this one, and I think that they will be one step closer to clinching a playoff spot. I actually do think Buffalo can clinch a playoff spot with a win here. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to cover in this one. And Miami, it's just they are not playing good right now, and they're going to run into a better team, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to get the job done by a final of 37-27. Just as another side note, the Dolphins are going from LA in warm weather now to playing in freezing cold weather. Dolphins are notorious for playing bad in cold weather. Give me the Bills in this one. All right, now we got the Sunday games. We got the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears in Chicago. One of the easier ones this week. I don't think this needs much of an explanation. I got the Eagles taking this one. The Eagles, they removed any doubt about who the best team in the league is on Sunday after what they did to the Giants. I know it's the Giants. I know they are, starting to play bad football right now, but still, I mean, they just Wow, they absolutely destroyed the Giants in that one. And the Eagles, they are in the playoffs. They are one step closer to clinching the NFC East, and they want that number one seed. The Bears are on a real bad losing streak. I don't know if Justin Fields is 100% good to go, but it honestly doesn't matter to me because even if Justin Fields plays, Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders are going to outperform him because the Bears' defense sucks. I'm going to go with Philly in this one, no doubt about it. Then we got my toilet bowl of the week. We got the Falcons and the Saints down in New Orleans, as the Falcons are coming off their bye, if I'm not mistaken. And the last time they played, they lost to us 19-16, where Marcus Mariota cost them that game, where he was missing throws and he was just he just missed a lot of opportunities to put his team up. And the Saints, they're coming off their bye as well. Last time the Saints played, a big-time choke on Monday Night Football to the Buccaneers. They had that game won. All they had to do was play strong man-to-man, and they would have beaten Tom Brady once again, but they choked. Soft zone prevent defense in the final phases, and that allowed the Buccaneers to come back and beat them. So this is honestly a real tricky one here, because if you ask me who the worst team in that NFC South is, and isn't that saying a great deal, because that entire division is just terrible. But if you ask me who the worst division in that team is, I honestly think it's the Saints, and they play like the worst team. They're in last place for a reason. They have a strong defense, but that defense this year has been a massive letdown this year, and their offense has just been very subpar this year as well. They have a lot of quarterback issues, and their head coach just looks very overwhelmed on the sidelines. Meanwhile, the Falcons, they're not a good team either, but Atlanta has been very competitive in a lot of their games this year. And Marcus Mariota, while he is not the guy per se for the Falcons, he's just he's a fill-in guy. Atlanta's looking for their next quarterback. They're coming off having Matt Ryan for, 13, 14 years? So those are hard shoes to fill. Atlanta can run the ball. They have a tough defense at times. They can put points on the board at times. They can get good drives going. Atlanta's a little bit more competitive than you think. And this is honestly a very tricky one, because I know the Falcons choked against the Saints the first time they played. But the thing is, these two usually split, and it's usually the road team that wins both games. So another thing is, the Saints are favored in this game, and I need an upset for this week. It's hard to pick upsets around this time of year because games start to matter more, and teams that are in contention are playing to clinch playoff spots. So it's really hard to pick an upset this week. So just for the sake of needing an upset, I'm going to go Falcons on this one. I'm going to go, if you want to call it an upset, go ahead. But this is my upset of the week. I got the Falcons going to New Orleans and beating the Saints. Again, it's just a game that either team can win, but I need an upset this week, and just for the sake of saying I need an upset, I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one. Not really saying a whole lot, though. Next, we got the Detroit Lions and the New York Jets. This one is in MetLife, as the Lions smacking the Vikings around 34-23. They, all of a sudden, have won 5 out of their last 6, and Detroit is 6-7. Lions are actually playing some decent football lately. And I even said this in my takes, if you saw it on my Instagram. I got a real bold take for you guys. I think the Detroit Lions are going to get the 7th seed. I really do. Because look at it. The 7th seed is wide open. Washington, I don't know if you can completely trust them to hold on to it. The Giants are playing real bad football right now. Seattle is starting to lose some games. And the biggest thing is the Lions have the tiebreaker over the Giants because the Lions beat the Giants earlier this year. So honestly, my bold take, Detroit takes the 7th seed. Their offense is playing has been playing so well all year. I mean, yeah, they've had a couple of games where the offense was shut down, but their offense has played incredibly well this year. And their defense got off to a terrible start, which is why they have more losses than they should. But Detroit, lately, their defense has been playing very well. I like where this Detroit Lions team is going. And them going to MetLife to play the Jets, who are also starting to lose some games. Zach Wilson just playing really bad so far. And the Jets defense, while it is really good, it is really young, though. And having to go up against the firepower the Lions have, with an even line, I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. That's right. I'm gonna say Detroit makes it 6 out of 7. I think they get the 500, and I think that they will be right in the talks of that 7th seed in the NFC. So yeah, baby, I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions to go to MetLife and beat the Jets. Give me the Lions. Alrighty, then we got my matchup. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers. Battle of two trash teams as the Steelers are 5-8. A real deplorable loss at home by the Baltimore Ravens, 16-14. If you want to know my thoughts on it, I made a whole freaking video on Mitch Trubisky the other day. Go check it out. I know that video blew up. It has like 1,700 views or something. But yeah, we're 5-8. Don't know the status of Kenny Pickett for this game. And honestly, a buddy of mine at work brought this to my attention, and I kind of agree with him, but at the same time, it's like, do you really want to ruin the guy's confidence like that because he's a rookie? He says, the Steelers ought to just shut down Kenny Pickett for the rest of the year. There's no sense in him getting injured, and we should shut down TJ Watt as well because there's no sense in risking him getting injured. We're not making the playoffs this year. I see what he's saying, and I see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't think we're going to do that because it's just Mike Tomlin. He's very complacent. He's very stubborn. He doesn't change anything, and I think that we're still going to put TJ on the field, and I still think that if Kenny's good to go, he's going to be the starter for this game, but yeah, man, I mean, we're 5-8. Let's be honest, we're not making the playoffs. And we're going to have a losing season. It's just going to happen. We got nothing to play for at this point except for playing spoiler to a bunch of teams. But even then, I don't think we can do that just because of who our backup is. Mason Rudolph should be Kenny Pickett's backup, not Mitch. Plain and simple. I don't know what Mason Rudolph did to deserve being demoted to third string when he's the freaking quarterback who's been with the team the longest out of any of the quarterbacks that we have. But if you ask me, he should be the second string. He should be the backup. Mitch needs to get the hell out of here. Mitch is just terrible. I'm done with him. So that's where we are right now. 5-8, inconsistent defense. Rush defense just got destroyed by J.K. Dobbins all game. And now playing the Panthers, who I believe are also 5-8. The Panthers have been playing way better than what I thought they'd do, honestly, too. This is a team everyone said they're last place. They got rid of CMC. They're just going to tank the rest of the season. P.J. Walker's their quarterback. Oh, they're going to only win one more game on the year. Baker Mayfield played very bad down in Carolina. Sam Darnold's their quarterback. The Panthers have a real tough defense, and P.J. Walker has actually played very well for the Panthers when his number was called. And that Deontay Foreman guy who they got in the backfield, he has put up a lot of headlines for the Panthers this season. The Panthers aren't a good team, but you know what they do? They actually come up with game plans. They actually play tough. So that's the difference in this one. We own the Panthers all time. We're 6-1 against them. Last time we played the Carolina Panthers, it was that Thursday night game 4 years ago when we dropped 52 on them. But that was when we had Big Ben at quarterback. That was probably the last good year that Big Ben had. That was the last good year Big Ben had. That was the last year of his prime. If I still say 2017 was the last year of Big Ben's prime. If you want to say 2018, okay, but I really think Big Ben was past his prime in 2018. But he had a solid season that year. We had Antonio Brown. You know, we still had that dynamic offense back then. It's 4 years later. None of them guys are on the team anymore. We don't have that offense that can do that. We just don't. And the Panthers, they have somewhat of an offense that they can rely on, and they have a defense that can shut us down pretty much. So this one was close to being my toilet bowl, but it's just the thing that one-ups Falcons Saints over me is the fact that it's a divisional game. You know, if they weren't playing each other, this would easily be it. So I want to believe we can win this game, but here's where I think Tomlin gets loss number 9. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers to win this one. I mean, it's just that the Steelers have nothing to play for besides a high draft pick. I mean, all we can really do at this point is just cheer for the Eagles to beat the Bears because every Chicago loss helps our draft pick that we got in the Claypool trade. That's really all we can do at this point. The Panthers, they're playing for some pride. They got something to play for. They still, as stupid as it is, they still have a chance to win the NFC South, which is what I think the Panthers are going to play for. So I'm going to go Carolina on this one simply because they got something to play for while we have absolutely nothing to play for. I'm going to go Carolina on this one. More in my preview. Next, we got another easy one. Dallas Cowboys and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, I mean, common sense says, oh yeah, the Cowboys are going to rout the Jaguars. I mean, this won't even be close. I really don't think it'll be an easy one because, remember, last week, the Cowboys were favored by 17 against the Texans, and the Texans almost beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys only won by 4 points. They didn't even cover. So there's that with the Cowboys. Should we be a little concerned? They let Houston hang in there with them. Maybe it was just a bad week for the Cowboys and they got the job done. I don't know, but you're favored by 17 and you barely beat the worst team in the league. Wow. Then you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Speaking of wow, how about what the Jags did down in Tennessee? A place they hadn't won in a decade, and they absolutely steamrolled the Titans. Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram look to be a really good combination down there in Florida. And the Jags, honestly, next year could be a dark horse contender. I really like where the Jags are headed. I think they got to nail this coming draft, and Jacksonville could quietly be a solid team next year. Fix up the defense a little bit, get some more variety on offense, and this Jags team is going to be a real tough team to beat. But are they quite ready to go up against the firepower the Cowboys have? I don't think so. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys to win this one. Cowboys are looking to, keep pace with the Eagles in the NFC East, which is what I think is exactly what's going to happen here. I don't know about their clinching scenario, but I am going to go with the Dallas Cowboys to get the job done here over the Jags. Then we got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. And again, 2 weeks in a row where the Chiefs are going to be my lock of the week. The only real question that I have for Kansas City is 14 too much for them? Because if last week taught me anything, like I said, the Texans were 17-point underdogs against the Cowboys, and the Texans hung in there. They almost beat the Cowboys. So that's the only question that I have for this game. Can Kansas City cover the 14-point spread? I don't know. Maybe 14 is too much for them, but the way Kansas City just dominates everyone this year, I think that 14 could be enough for them to cover. But again, nothing's a given in the league anymore. Kansas City wants that AFC West. They want a playoff spot. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs as my lock of the week. but I don't know about covering. But give me Kansas City regardless. Later slate of games on Sunday, we got the Arizona Cardinals and the Denver Broncos. This one is in Denver as the Cardinals, a 27-13 loss at home last night to the Patriots. And the biggest headline for them, despite being 4-10, pretty much, or 4-9, 4-9 out of playoff contention, Kyler Murray is done for the year with a torn ACL. Kyler Murray will miss probably a lot of next season as well, because we all know how long ACLs take to recover from. That sucks. I mean, it sucks enough to tear your ACL, but to get paid all that money at the beginning of the season, and now you tear your ACL, and you're going to miss a lot of next year, that really blows. You know, my heart goes out to Kyler. Hope he recovers well. Hope he comes back strong. But, you know, ACLs, they could be life-changing. I've seen it. I have a buddy in high school who is in crutches because he tore his ACL. ACLs are no joke, man. So hopefully Kyler recovers well. Hopefully he comes back stronger. And hopefully he doesn't miss a beat. But that really blows. Arizona, they're done. Colt McCoy, to his credit, played well enough for an emergency situation. But he's just not, he's just not starter quality. The Denver Broncos have been terrible all season, but Russell Wilson actually had probably his best game of his career, of his Broncos career, I should say, on Sunday. The Denver Broncos were down 27-0 at one point to Kansas City, and then the Broncos actually made it a game. So Russell Wilson actually had a solid game for the Broncos for once. And Denver's defense here now going up against Arizona's backup, I think that can be enough for Denver to finally get a win. I think the Broncos snap their losing streak. I think they take advantage of the Cardinals being banged up here, and the Cardinals just got nothing else to play for. Neither do the Broncos. They're just a terrible team. They are the second worst team in the AFC, ahead of obviously Houston. But I think this is probably the last winnable game for the Broncos. I'm going to go Denver here to get the job done over the Cardinals. Then we got the most difficult one for me to pick on the week, in my opinion. The New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. This one is in Vegas, as the Patriots are coming off a 27-13 win over the Cardinals, while the Raiders are coming off a massive choke job against the Rams on Thursday night. And the Raiders are pretty much out of the playoff picture. 5-8, they got nothing else to play for. What to say for this one? New England's defense stepped up with a defensive touchdown. Mac Jones didn't really play all that well, but the Patriots somehow got the job done with their rush game and a strong defensive effort. Again, I know a lot of it has to do with Kyler Murray's injury and going up against Colt McCoy for essentially the night. But still, New England got it done when it mattered. They're 7-6, and I think that they are still alive in the playoff hunt, but it's just their window of opportunity and their room for error is just rapidly diminishing. So that's the thing with the Patriots. Vegas, they got a strong offense when they click on all cylinders, but I just don't trust the Raiders. They can put up points. That defense they have, though, is going to cost them big time. I think if the Raiders are going to have any chance of winning this game, Josh Jacobs needs to be the bulk of their offense. They need to throw it, Carr needs to throw it to Devontae Adams, and that's just it right there. It's an interesting battle between master and apprentice here, as it's Belichick against Josh McDaniels, as while McDaniels does know Belichick, it's just McDaniels is a terrible head coach, and Belichick has haunted the Raiders ever since that Tuck rule game all the way back in 2001. So I think New England's defense can step up here, and I think that they can limit Derek Carr. And I have absolutely no faith in the Raiders anymore. If they can choke the way they did against the Rams, then I have no doubt in my mind that they can blow it against the Patriots team that's still looking to become a playoff team. I'm going to go New England on this one to get the job done over the Raiders, because another factor for me in this one, the Raiders, the Patriots, despite them being the road team, they really don't have to travel all that far. I mean, it's just from Arizona to Vegas. That's not really a long plane ride. Could even be a bus ride depending on how far away it is. But I'm going to go with the Patriots to get the job done over the Raiders here. Then we got the Tennessee Titans and the Los Angeles Chargers. This one is in LA, as the Titans got absolutely wrecked at home by the Jaguars. Even though Derrick Henry had over 120 yards on the ground for the Titans, they still couldn't get the job done because Ryan Tannehill sucks. And the Titans, I really don't think it's a given that they'll win the AFC South now, because Jacksonville's starting to pick up a couple of W's. But let's be honest, I still think the Titans will win that division because no one else in that division is good. But the Titans, this is why I don't buy them as a legit contender. They fall for trap games. They fail to close out games. And it showed right there. They fell for a massive trap game against the Jaguars. I don't buy Tennessee as a legit contender. They'll win that joke of an AFC South, and then they'll get eliminated in the first round, go one and done all over again like they did last year and the year before. So yeah, Tennessee, I just don't buy them. The Chargers, an impressive win over the Miami Dolphins on Sunday night, and all of a sudden LA is 7-6. They are still in the playoff picture, and they found out a way to close out Tua Tagovailoa. I think that their defense can step up here, and I think they can honestly limit Derrick Henry. Because let's be honest, Derrick Henry always has good games against Jacksonville, going up against a more established defense here in the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert can make mincemeat of that pass defense the Titans have. I'm going to go LA to win this one and drop Tennessee to their fourth straight loss, drop them to 500. It's just illegal for any team in the South this year to be over 500. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to get the job done over the Titans here and keep the pace in the playoff picture while Tennessee's downward spiral continues. Give me the Chargers to get the job done over the Titans. Well, this could have been a really good matchup at the beginning of the season, but now it's looking like another easy one. Cincinnati Bengals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down in Tampa Bay. Bengals coming off a win over the Browns 23-10. Since starting 0-2, the Bengals are 9-2. Still very much in great position to clinch a playoff spot. They're 9-4 on the year. Pretty much a game back of Baltimore because of the tiebreaker. So the Bengals need to win, and they need the Browns to beat the Ravens in order for the Bengals to get in first place. So, yeah, Bengal fans, back-to-back weeks, you got to root for division rivals. Oh, man, that just brings a smile to my face. But, yeah, the Bengals, regardless, I still think they'll be playing in January. You can bank on that. They're playing really well. Defense stepped up big time, and their offense is still playing great. So the Bengals, I mean, they just have everything what it takes to be a legit contender. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6-7. They got absolutely demolished by the 49ers on Sunday. Brady threw 2 picks. And the Bucs, let's be honest, if they win that NFC South, it's going to be by total default. They really are. I really don't think Tampa's the best team in that division. Honestly, if you ask me, it might be Carolina. Or should I say Carolina's the least worst team in that division. Tampa Bay just sucks, man. I mean, they have all that talent, and this is the performance they put in. Brady's 45 years old, and I keep saying it, should have stayed retired. I love how everyone's like, oh, Brady gets better with age, but yet he has a bad game. The excuse with him is his age. Which one is it? Does he get better with age, or is he too old to play? Which one is it? You can't have it both ways. Regardless of what it is, the Bucs have not won a single game against the AFC North this year, and I think the Bengals will complete the sweep of that. Give me the Bengals to go down into Tampa, beat the Buccaneers. Bengals are playing red hot. Buccaneers are just playing not to lose that division. I'm going to go Cincinnati as the Buccaneers finish 0-4 against the AFC North. Give me the Bengals to beat the Bucs. Sunday Night Football down in D.C. Check your local listings as we got the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders. A couple weeks ago when these two teams played, they tied at 20, a game that the Giants blew, honestly. They had that game won until a stupid taunting penalty and then real bad defensive metrics by the Giants and then a chance to win it in overtime and they blew it as the Giants and Washington tied. Giants are playing terrible. They got destroyed by the Eagles on Sunday. They let Philly drop 48 on them. And the Giants, they are just playing very bad football at the wrong time. A month ago, I said the Giants would be a dark horse contender, a dark horse team in the NFC, a team that could give teams a lot of problems. But it looks like, they're starting to play good teams. It's just that they're a young team themselves, and they got ahead of themselves. Giants are on a free fall. Meanwhile, the Commanders, kind of the opposite. They got off to a real rough start, and they have put together a really impressive run in this second half of the season. Don't count out Washington. They can make things very interesting in that NFC, and I think they are right now. I think they would actually be in the playoffs today if the playoffs started. I think they are the current holder of the 6th or 7th seed. I have to look at the playoff picture, but yeah, Washington, they are far from dead. I like how this Commanders team is playing. I like how Taylor Heineke is playing. I like how their offense is playing. The Giants are just on a free fall. It's just two teams that are just going in opposite directions. I do think these two teams are a lot alike, per se, because they're teams that won't blow out their opponents, but they're teams that find ways to get the win. But the Giants lately just have not been finding ways to get a win. Washington has. That's the difference here. Give me the Commanders to get the job done over the Giants here. I can't call it a sweep because they didn't win the first one. So I'm going to go with the Commanders to get the job done over the Giants here. Monday Night Football in Lambeau. This was the second hardest one for me to pick, as we got the Rams and the Packers in Lambeau. LA is 4-9 on the season, I believe, coming off an impressive win over the Raiders. Baker Mayfield took the team 98 yards for a game-winning drive when he just got cleared off waivers. And then the Green Bay Packers have not played well all year. They're 5-8 on the year. And they did beat the Chicago Bears the last time they played, but let's be honest, it's the Bears. They always beat the Bears. However, this one is difficult for me because I don't know if I'm really ready to trust the Rams 100%, even though Baker Mayfield had that game-winning drive against the Raiders, because Vegas's defense is just very suspect, and they're playing a Packer team who has a better defense. They have a good defense. It's just not elite, in my opinion. And Baker Mayfield never really does well in primetime either, unless it's Thursday night for some reason. So I don't know if I can fully trust the Rams. I don't know if Aaron Donald is going to be back for this game. I heard that he's hopeful to come back, but only time will tell for that one. So I really don't know about the Rams. I don't like that Stafford's out for the year. I really don't like that Cooper Kupp is still missing some time. So to me, I think that Baker Mayfield still has to find chemistry with guys like Van Jefferson. And that's not really a good thing. Rams need to get the ball running here, and I really don't think that that's going to help them much because of Green Bay's rush defense. Meanwhile, Green Bay, they have been terrible all year. Aaron Rodgers has had a real bad year. And, with the Packers, I think it's the same thing. They got to get the ball running. They got to have A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones be the bulk of their offense. Aaron Rodgers generally plays very well at home and also in primetime. But I don't know. Green Bay has just looked very different this year. So I don't know if I can trust Green Bay as well. So this is a situation of when in doubt, go home team. I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pick the Packers simply just because they're the home team and simply because Aaron Rodgers has a great track record of playing home in primetime. So I'm going to go Green Bay on this one, although I might switch it to the Rams, so put a little asterisk next to this one. I'm going to go Green Bay for the time being, though. And that'll do it. Those are my Week 15 picks of the 2022 NFL season. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This is Steel Sermon checking on out for the day. May God be with you all.